Good evening and welcome to Transition Talks Tuesdays. This Transition Talks Tuesdays is in partnership with Sauk Prairie School District with Liz Kennedy. We are supported with the simultaneous Spanish translation provided by Interpreters Cooperative of Madison, which is underwritten by the Wisconsin Integrated Transition Planning Project. Today, we have a very important transition topic to talk about. We're going to talk about disability work benefits, navigating work and support. And for that, we have Amber Kwiatkowski, who is a work incentives benefits specialist, and she is going to be up first to talk to us about work incentives benefits counseling in Wisconsin. Amber, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Tim. So as Tim said, I am here to talk about a very important service, work incentives benefits counseling. It's also sometimes called WIBC, W-I-B-C, but it's a very important service for individuals who receive Social Security disability benefits and who are working or considering working. I work for Employment Resources, Inc., or ERI, and I have been a work incentives benefit specialist for 15 years. So I really enjoy the work, and I think it's a really important service, to have so that accurate information can be given and that individuals can understand that working is possible. Many individuals believe that they can't work because they will lose important benefits such as health insurance or their cash payments that they rely on. So we're here to help people understand that and take a look at it because that's not always the case. It is possible to work and maintain health insurance and cash payments, either for a limited time or even indefinitely, depending on what the job goal is. Each person's benefit situation is different and unique, and that's why it's important to get the benefits counseling service because, everybody's benefit is different, and it's just important to get individualized, specific information regarding your individual situation. So a benefit specialist can help. Benefits are complicated, and there is a lot of misinformation out there. So that's why it's important to get the individualized service so that you can plan for your own unique situation. So a work incentives benefit specialist works with individuals who have already been approved for their disability benefit with Social Security. We're not available to help people with applying for their Social Security benefit. We're here to help support people when they're thinking about working. So they've already been approved for either Social Security disability insurance, SSDI, or supplemental security income, SSI. So a comparison of the two programs, SSDI is going to be based on somebody's own work record or the work record of a parent who is receiving their own disability benefit who is retired or deceased. There is no asset limit for SSDI. You do have to be 18 before you could qualify for SSDI. So if you're under the age of 18, you would not be getting an SSDI payment. If you're under 18, you might qualify for the other benefit, which is the SSI payment. SSI is the needs-based disability program that's with Social Security. There is a federal payment that individuals receive with SSI, and that's currently $914 per month. The state of Wisconsin provides a supplement payment as well. And so there are income and asset limits for SSI eligibility. It does come with automatic Medicaid in the state of Wisconsin. So that's a nice part of SSI. Now, the thing to know is that working is going to affect each of these benefits differently. SSDI has its own unique set of work incentives and, rules and provisions for returning to work. And SSI has its own specific work incentives. So that's why it's important for you to understand what benefit you are getting so that you can understand which work incentives will apply to you based on what you're receiving. Some people actually receive both SSDI and SSI, so that makes things a little more complicated. So for health insurance, we usually look at two different health insurance programs. One is Medicare, and that is the health insurance that comes along with SSDI. But there is a 2-year wait. So SSDI beneficiaries do become eligible for Medicare after receiving their payments for 2 years. Medicare is not as comprehensive as Medicaid, but it's still, you know, decent health insurance coverage. There just may be more out-of-pocket cost. There are 3 parts to Medicare. There's Part A, B, and D, and some people qualify for extra help for paying some of the cost associated with Medicare. There's a premium, for example, for Part B, and some individuals have help from a Medicare savings plan from the state of Wisconsin to pay that premium. Now, Medicaid is going to be more comprehensive, and it's secondary to Medicare. So we see a lot of people who might have both Medicare and Medicaid. And in that case, Medicaid is going to be the secondary insurance, and it will pick up the cost that Medicare is not covering for that individual. With Medicaid, there are many different Medicaid options or programs that we have in Wisconsin. So that's why it can be really hard to understand which Medicaid program somebody has and what the income and asset limits are. And that's why getting benefits counseling can help with that. In most cases, it is possible to maintain eligibility for Medicaid even when people are working. And also Medicare, that's definitely possible in pretty much all cases. So I'm going to tell you, a bit more about what the service entails and what we as work incentives benefit specialists help people with. So we're here to provide accurate information about how working will affect cash payments, health insurance, housing, and any other benefits a person receives. Part of the service is a written benefits summary and analysis report. And that report can vary in length. Some of them can be quite long, but it's really that written explanation about how somebody's job goal will impact their benefits, and it outlines all of the work incentives that are available to them. We educate beneficiaries about the work incentives available and how to utilize them. We assist with understanding wage reporting requirements and how to report earnings. So that is something that most people do not understand. And so that's really a big part of our role, is helping with making sure that work reporting is happening, helping individuals communicate with Social Security and the state of Wisconsin regarding reporting of income changes and earnings, because it can be quite challenging to figure out that system. We can assist with overpayment issues and options for resolving them. Unfortunately, overpayments are kind of a big thing with both SSDI and SSI. Working can cause overpayments, unfortunately, especially if earnings are not reported in a timely manner. So we do see a lot of overpayments, but there are some options for resolving them. And we can help people figure out what those options are. Sometimes an overpayment can be waived, and that means that it doesn't have to be paid back. Other times, a payment plan can be worked out where somebody makes a monthly, the payment towards that overpayment, and that's another way that it can be resolved. We really want to help individuals make informed choices about working. So ideally, when somebody has all the information and they know what to expect, then they can make the best informed decision about what they want to do for employment. We want to reduce fear and misunderstanding related to working and benefits. And we want to improve communication between agencies and beneficiaries. We can resolve work-related benefit problems. And we do have to refer to other agencies, programs, and services when needed. So funding is available through three sources for work incentives, benefits, counseling in Wisconsin. The first one is the state of Wisconsin Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, or DVR. They provide funding for this service. You would just have to contact your DVR counselor to request and authorize the service, and then they would refer you to an agency that could provide it for you. There are many agencies throughout the state that are providers of the service for DVR. And so you would have a choice as to which, agency you would want to work with for the service. The second option is the long-term care system. So that would be Family Care or IRIS. They have funding available through the Medicaid waiver to fund that service, and you would need to reach out to your care manager or IRIS consultant for more information about how to get the service funded by them. The third funding source is the Work Incentives Planning and Assistance, or the WIPA grant, WIPA. This is a grant that's funded by the Social Security Administration. And in Wisconsin, Employment Resources has the grant for the WIPA program. So we are able to provide free work incentives counseling to anybody in the state. So every county, we're the contact person, Employment Resources. So those are the three funding sources. We do try to utilize DVR or long-term care when possible. And that is just so that we can reserve the grant for individuals who don't have access to another source of payment for the service. But yes, funding is definitely available. It shouldn't be a problem to get access to the service. So you may have heard about the Ticket to Work program. The Ticket to Work program is Social Security's free employment services, and it's available to beneficiaries between the ages of 18 through 64. How it works is beneficiaries choose either the state DVR agency, which we talked about, or an employment network agency. We also call them ENs. So DVR consumers will automatically use their Ticket to Work. They might not even know that they are, but it happens automatically. So if you have a DVR case open and you have a plan signed for employment services, your Ticket to Work will be put in use and you'll be using it. Employment networks, they are a little different. Employment networks are located all across the country. There are actually hundreds of employment networks available. Some employment networks serve people, in different states. Each employment network has a contract with Social Security, and they can provide whatever services they are good at or what they want to do. So the services really vary between each employment network. So it can be a little overwhelming to try to research what those options are, but there are a lot of options available. One tricky thing with employment networks is that they don't have a lot of funding available to provide things like training grants or, money for transportation or money to buy like a uniform for a job. They just don't have a lot of, upfront funding for those kinds of things, whereas DVR does. So that's one thing that a lot of people, consider when they're trying to decide should they go to DVR or one of the employment network agencies. And then also, employment networks most times are not going to be a local resource, meaning that you would probably be working with them virtually or remotely, and you wouldn't be having like in-person meetings like you can with DVR. So, employment networks can be a good fit though for people depending on what their needs are. Employment networks generally are looking to work with beneficiaries who do have a goal of working off of benefits. So if your goal is more of a part-time job goal, working with an employment network might not be a good fit either. One nice thing about using the ticket to work is that that should say medical reviews, not Medicare reviews. They can be postponed if your ticket is assigned and timely progress is being made. So that's a really nice benefit, especially for people who are working full time. They can have a medical review postponed while they're trying to return to work again. And that's only available if their ticket is actually assigned to either DVR or one of the employment networks. So that's an important thing to understand. And a lot of people look for that specifically when they're thinking about ticket to work. Ticket to Work has a really good website. It's choosework.ssa.gov. And that website has so many resources on it. You can search for employment networks right on that website. You can put in your zip code and it will bring up all of the employment networks that serve your area. So another thing that a lot of people hear about and wonder about is it's called PASS, Plan to Achieve Self-Support. I feel like PASS is not really fully understood. I think there's quite a bit of misinformation out there about what it can do. And, it's actually pretty underutilized. And I think that is because it's not a good fit for everybody. So I think it is a good fit for some people, but not everybody. So what it is, it's actually an SSI work incentive that allows for the saving of income and or resources to purchase items or services needed to reach a specific work goal. So right there, you have to be eligible for SSI to qualify for a pass. So that means if somebody has, savings, if they have assets more than $2,000, they wouldn't be eligible for SSI. So that's part of it, though you could set aside some of those resources in a pass plan in order to become eligible for SSI. That's a possibility, but you do, have to have SSI to qualify for a pass. And the other thing is the work goal has to be a goal that will decrease or eliminate reliance on cash payments. So here again, if the job goal is a part-time goal, a pass plan may not be a good option because it might not be approved by Social Security. Because they're essentially investing in somebody and they want that investment to pay off in the end, meaning that the person will have, pretty much a 30 to 40 hour a week job where they're not really relying on SSI cash payments anymore. Pass plans have to be in writing, and they do have a pass plan application that can be used for that. They do have to be approved by Social Security. They are time limited and they are monitored regularly by Social Security. So the income or assets that are set aside in a PASS plan are not counted by SSI. So that means that the individual would receive the full federal benefit rate to pay for their basic living expenses, while they set aside their countable income into that PASS plan account or savings account. And that's what they would be saving up for, the items or services needed that they identified in their PASS plan. So the other thing is that the individual must be able to live off of the SSI federal benefit rate, which is the $914. So sometimes, it's not a good fit for somebody who might have a higher, SSDI payment. Maybe that person wouldn't be able to live on the $914. So in that case, a PASS isn't probably going to be a good option. So again, not everybody is a good candidate for PASS. And I do recommend consulting with a benefits specialist first before somebody really pursues that or looks into it.
So before you continue, Amber, we do have a question in the chat.
Okay.
And I'm sorry if you might have already answered this, but if somebody has their money in like an ABLE account or special needs trust that they're using to support their life, are they still eligible for PASS?
Yeah, they could be. Yep. Yeah. So let's say, if somebody has an ABLE account or a special needs trust, that is really a way for them to save more money. So it's an option for saving more than that $2,000 limit, which is the limit for SSI and for most Medicaid programs. But an ABLE account or a special needs trust, those are not time limited. So you can have those forever. A PASS plan is time limited. So it's just designed as a way to save up money that somebody needs in order to reach a job goal. So it's time limited, but you could do both. I mean, there's nothing that says you couldn't do a PASS plan if you had a specific job goal and you wanted to be able to save up money for that. So it's definitely both. You could have both. So I'm trying to think, a good example of a PASS plan might be, the tricky part is that you also have to have other income to set aside into that PASS plan. So let's say somebody just has SSI and they don't have any other income. They wouldn't be able to do a PASS because they don't have other income to set aside into that PASS plan. But if they had maybe a part-time job and SSI, they could set aside their countable earnings every month to save up for that job goal. And then they would get the full SSI federal payment while they were setting aside that money, where normally their SSI payment would be reduced because of those earnings. So that's one example. But again, if they're working part-time, their job goal is going to have to be to work full-time. So otherwise, a PASS plan would not be approved for that person. Another good candidate for PASS would be somebody who has SSDI and SSI, because then they could set aside their SSDI payment into that PASS plan account, and then they would get the full federal SSI payment to live off of. And then they would be able to save, $400 or $500 a month until they had enough money to fund that job goal. And then it would be done. Then PASS would be done. So it's not a way to, they don't go on forever. And I think some people think that it does, but it's time limited. And it's intended to help somebody reach a job goal that will decrease or eliminate the reliance on, their cash payment. Any other questions about PASS? It's kind of a confusing, complicated thing.
Nothing else in the chat. Thanks, Amber.
Okay, sounds good. So when are good times to contact a work incentives benefits specialist? Ideally, when somebody is considering working for the first time, that is the best time to get counseling on this. I get calls from people almost every day that never had benefits information. They've been working for a period of time and things are happening. They didn't understand everything. Now maybe their cash payment is changing. They have an overpayment and they just didn't understand what to expect. So it's really good to be proactive and get the information when you're employment planning, in the initial stages of it. Also, if somebody is making more money, so that's a big thing. So sometimes people maybe they've had a job for a while and now their job is saying, oh, can you work more hours? We're short staffed. We need you to work more hours. And that can be problematic. So it's a good time to get more information. Or when people get raises, that's another big thing that happens. And raises are great, but it might be good to consult with a benefit specialist before agreeing to that raise if it's going to cause an issue with any of your benefits. So obviously going back to work, developing a career plan, and looking for a job. Those are all great times to think about work incentives counseling. Also, if somebody is having problems or questions about their current benefits, that is a work-related issue, then it's a great time to reach out to us. All right. So again, our message, our main message that we want to, make sure individuals understand that it is possible to work and keep important benefits, including the cash payment, the health insurance, even the housing assistance, all of those things. It is possible to work and keep important benefits, and we are here to help. All right. And then if there are any questions other than that, that is the information that I have.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that, Amber. We're going to continue tonight's presentation with Liz Kennedy from Sauk Prairie School District, tying it into what's going on at Sauk Prairie Schools. So I'll give Liz a moment to introduce herself further as I work on getting the screen set up.
Hi, I'm Liz Kennedy. I'm the transition coordinator for the Sauk Prairie School District. Thank you, Amber, for giving us that information. I know that our families will appreciate having that as they're moving forward, looking on their benefits journey. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about how we at Sauk Prairie School District can help support families in this process. We obviously do not do anything with benefits counseling, but I can help with a little bit of resources for you. Next slide, please. So I can assist you with referring to the ADRC at 17.5. If you have any questions about the ADRC process, you can look at our Transition Talk Tuesday from September 26th. I do help coordinate with outside agencies with whom you may be collaborating and refer you to the experts because I am not an expert on benefits. I can share website links, brochures, and information that I have here. And I can assist you in a referral to DVR, which also can help you with the benefits analysis. I have copies of the Wisconsin Transition Resource Guides in English and in Spanish. And I can help you plan through the post-secondary transition plan, the PTP, for the steps you need to take in the process of looking at these kinds of things. And I can also provide you with copies of the opening door publications in Spanish and English. They're also on the DPI website, and I did include a link here on this slide in case you would like to look at some of those. If you do want paper copies, I do have some in my office as well. Next slide, please. I did put some links here for the Ticket to Work, the PASS program, benefits counseling, and then again, your benefits analysis can be part of your individual plan for employment through DVR or your long-term support services. And then another really good resource is the Wisconsin Statewide Parent Educator Initiative called WISPE. They have a lot of resources in Spanish and in English, and I did put a link here as well. So we have one more Transition Talk Tuesday coming up, and that is our Sauk Prairie Beyond 18 programs and employment. And if you wanted to register for that, I do have a link on the next slide so that you can go ahead and do that. You can also go in and look at any of our previous Transition Talk Tuesdays and watch them in Spanish and English. And we will also have all of our resources up that go along with each of those Transition Talk Tuesdays. If you have any questions, please do feel free to reach out to me at any time. I do have a new office number, and then I also have listed my email through the school district. I want to thank Tim and Amber and our Spanish interpreters for tonight, and I look forward to seeing people at our next Transition Talk Tuesday.
Thank you so much, Liz. Thank you, Amber, for being here tonight. I don't see any further questions in the chat, so I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to call it a good night. And I really appreciate your help, your expertise, and the way that you take care of our families. Have a great evening.
Thanks. You too. Bye.